I was really expecting it to end my career.
When I made the transition, I wasn't sure if I was going to survive.
What we eat has a major impact on our health in every way we can measure.
Today's blood and yesterday's blood.
Yeah.
To think that these elite fighting machines were eating mainly plants went against everything I'd been taught about nutrition.
There is no one that can relate to that better than I do because I've lived in that world.
I'm in it just to rewrite history, cause I'm in the mood to label us the leaders of the new school. This ain't for the radio, can't find this on YouTube. This the type of killing that these critics ain't used to. Victorious.
How could one of the world's strongest men be so powerful, eating only plants? No meat, no milk, no eggs.
Someone asked me, how could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? And my answer was, have you ever seen an ox eating meat?
Many people still think brute strength comes from eating protein, specifically meat protein. But a new documentary is turning the spotlight on the benefits of an all-plant diet and how adopting it can push you past previous limits. That doc is called The Game Changers, and the narrator in the film is James Wilkes. He joins me now in studio with fellow producer Joseph Pace. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You have trained very hard all your life as an elite athlete. What was your diet previous to this?
I was following a pretty typical diet, you know, extra lean chicken, extra lean turkey, brown rice, broccoli. It was pretty boring, to be honest. And then I also started switching to a sort of paleo diet until I came across the scientific research.
Okay, so tell me how you guys got together and what inspired the documentary.
Well, I was working for Dr. Michael Greger, who runs a site called nutritionfacts.org. I think it's the best science-based site for nutrition on the internet. And James actually wrote Dr. Greger a very technical email about sports nutrition, and I'd studied nutrition. And, Dr. Greger handed it over to me and said, you know, this is a pretty interesting guy. He's in the UFC, but hear him out. He really knows his stuff. So we talked, and I think the first phone call, we decided we wanted to make a film out of it.
To explore this, what was in that email?
I think it was just some technical questions about branched-chain amino acids and leucine and the amount of certain amino acids that you need to build muscle. Very sort of technical questions about building muscle and strength.
Yeah, what I liked about the documentary is it took you step by step through your process of how does it work? Why do we think that meat is always better for sustenance that way and for power? And where did that come from and where are we now? When you were planning the doc and brainstorming, what was the must-have part? What did you think that had to go in there? I'll start with you.
I mean, really, it didn't start like that. It was really my journey. So we just sort of started documenting research. I was reaching out to, you know, top scientists from Harvard and Yale and Oxford, research chairs, and then reaching out to these athletes. And we just started documenting it. And it was just happened very organically. I came across a study about the Roman gladiators, showed that they were eating almost an exclusively plant-based diet based on strontium calcium analysis and all these scientific research. And it just happened very, very naturally, really. And I just kept having more and more questions, and that's probably what you'll see, is I was very skeptical. And
I think it came back to protein. Over and over and over again, it came back to protein.
And where you get that protein.
Yeah, and this idea that protein comes from animal foods and meat in particular. But I think for you, a big turning point was when you realized that, well, the animals that we eat get it from somewhere.
Where do they get it from?
Yeah, and the idea that the strongest land animals, horses, elephants, rhinos, gorillas, they get their protein from plants. And I think that sort of all culminated for you and some of the other athletes that, we have in the film, that maybe there was more to this protein thing than we might have thought before.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, one of the most recognizable figures and symbols of power, powerful men physically, is in this documentary. Were you going after him the whole time when you found out that he was going to participate? What did you think?
I mean, it's executively produced by Džejms Kameron, and Džejms Kameron and Arnold are good friends, and so it was a pretty natural extension. And Arnold had been researching this himself And once you start doing the research, you'll come to the same conclusions, that eating more plants is better for performance. And so obviously it was exciting for Joseph and I to get Arnold in the film.
What was the most surprising thing you learned through this process? Because it was a 5-year journey to get this done. James and Joseph.
I mean, obviously I'm not a filmmaker, and so I think if you'd have told me this is going to take 5 years of a lot of your time and a lot of effort and sweat and money, then I think I would have said I'm not going to do it. But so just amazing process making the film.
I think the sort of embarrassing to talk about, but the tests that we did. So first we did 3 live experiments in the film. One was on the 3 members of the Miami Dolphins to look at blood flow, and you saw that, the difference that a single meal can make. And we thought to ourselves, I wonder if a single meal can affect sexual performance, in particular for men, erectile function. Sort of strange to talk about. So we found 3 willing college athletes from Orange County, near where James lives, who were willing to do this test. And the film, gets into a little more, but
you're trying to prove to men that, an all-plant diet gives you sustenance and power and vitality, I guess.
Yeah, and it only made sense, like, if we saw increased blood flow in the Miami Dolphins for athletics, that there might be increased blood flow to other areas of the body as well. So that was a pretty surprising thing to discover.
Yeah, there were a few surprising things along the way. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having us.